an argument about demographic change as affecting culture can never be made within the territory of India. For instance, somebody in a particular state, take for instance, there's this huge migration which is now taking place in our IT centers. People can't say our culture is being changed because of this huge migration.
See Maharashtra, Manoj, labor coming from.
Because
correct?
for the purpose of citizenship law, as Attorney General has very beautifully put it in his submissions, India is one entity.
Correct.
So no one state or no people in one state can say that, look, by virtue of the fact that we are having an influx from other states, that our culture is being affected. Too bad. That's what the Constitution presupposes by
Correct.
postulating Article 19(1)d.
Correct.
You rightly said that, there's free movement. But this applies within the nation.
Manoj, migration of peoples and populations is embedded in history. It cannot be mapped. No migration can ever be mapped. And if you look at the history of Assam, you'll realize that it's impossible to figure out who came when. Assam originally was a part of Myanmar. And it was way back in 1824, after the British Malats conquered a part of it, that a treaty was entered into by which Assam was handed over to the British. And I'm talking about 1826, 1824, 1826. You can imagine the kind of movements of peoples that must have taken place in the context of the then British Empire. And if you jump to 1905, you will have the partition of Bengal. And in the partition of Bengal, East Bengal and Assam became one. Indeed, at that point in time, Bengali language was forced to be taught in schools. There was a huge opposition to that. So this interaction between the Ahom people, who are the original inhabitants of that part of Assam that was taken away from Myanmar, integrated with the non-Ahom peoples. And therefore the interaction and the absorption of the Bengali population in Assam has a historical context. In 1911, Manoj, it was reversed. The partition of Bengal was reversed. But they belonged to the same area. The ethnicity was different. The language was different. And all these problems were created by the British. Because when the independence of India took place, East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, was carved into a separate country. And the exodus happened because of the fact that the ethnic minorities, linguistic minorities, as well as the majority community in East Bengal, in East Pakistan was not willing to stay there. The problem on the west coast was entirely different. On the western border was entirely different. Because on the western border, it was the Hindus who were coming into India, not the Muslims. The Muslims were given the choice to go there. That's why the date 19th of July. If you not come on the 16th of August, Mullahs, we are people who have been displaced from Lahore. My maternal grandparents were killed. So we came here immediately on the 16th of August. But there are many people, Mullahs, who came here afterwards. And they had to be given refuge. So therefore the 19th of July date, therefore the mechanism. That would never have happened in Assam. From East Pakistan, there was no such. Mullahs. All the minorities wanted to come into India because it was originally a part of India, part of the British Empire. So when this partition took place, naturally, people of Indian ethnicity, Bengali ethnicity, their language would want to come. So, Maharaj, to try and argue a constitutional point, which is the point I'm getting at, to say that this has changed the cultural ambience of Assam is constitutionally invalid. Because you cannot attribute to one event, this to one event. Nor is the court, Maharaj, has the wherewithal to do so. You shouldn't even start this exercise. More important, Maharaj, I have a fundamental right to move from one place of the country to another. So immigration or migration from one place to another is a fundamental right. Can some...
Within the country, of course.
No, it doesn't matter, Malaj.
No, but within the country, this right really doesn't extend to people who are not Indians to enter in.
Malaj, but they were India. That's the point. They were Indians. On that particular day, they were Indians. When Malaj, please, in 1971, when this happened, the war happened, Malaj, and Bangladesh was created. They were Indians before that.
Who is Indians?
Malaj. Please, please.
No,
They were.
What's the argument?
Well, what happened? Pakistan was
They
created.
were all part of undivided India.
Correct. They were correct, but they were
The government of India.
correct. Well, when Pakistan was created naturally, people would like to come. Well, in 1951, people would like to come. Well, Bengalis would like to come. Hindus would like to come. That's the point I'm making, Malas. A constitutional argument can't be made because it happened in 1951 that they came here. Therefore, Malas, it changes the cultural environment of Assam. That's not a good argument constitutionally. For the simple reason, Malas, the argument has to be applied in the context of demographic change. Demographic change can never be the basis of saying that my culture has been impacted. Can never be, as a matter of constitutional law. Why, Millers? Because Part 3 of the Constitution in enforcement of rights. Article 21 is the preservation of rights. 29 is the preservation of rights. There's a constitutional distinction between the two. They are people of different cultures, different traditions, maybe different language. They are entitled to preserve it. Nobody has infringed that. Their argument is it has been infringed demographically, an argument that has no basis in the Constitution. They have to show violation.
Mr. Sibal, there may be some problem with this because an argument about demographic change as affecting culture can never be made within the territory of India. For instance, somebody in a particular state, take for instance, there's this huge migration which is now taking place in our IT centers. People can't say our culture is being changed because of this huge migration.
Maharashtra, Manas, labor coming from.
Because for the purpose of citizenship law, as Attorney General has very beautifully put it in his submissions, India is one entity. Correct. So no one state or no people in one state can say that, look, by virtue of the fact that we are having an influx from other states, that our culture is being affected. Too bad. That's what the Constitution presupposes by postulating Article 19(1)d. You rightly said that, there's free movement. But this applies within the nation.
I agree. Let's kindly see 29 now.
Can the people of a state not say, suppose the union were to say that we are going to resettle, say 20,000 refugees or 25,000 refugees in a particular state. There may be substance in the argument, we may not accept it, but they can certainly found a constitutional challenge.
I'll answer that. See 29.
We cannot have a challenge at all.
Well, that's 29. Just look at 29. Just have a look at 29. Which part of their petition says that their right to language, script, or culture has been impacted? That's not even their case. So how do you bring 29 into it? The submission that I am making is this demographic change happened because of historic reasons. And these historic reasons don't relate only to 1947, after 1947. These historic reasons are etched in history right from 1824. And it would be difficult for the court, to identify as a matter of fact that this happened only after 1947.
According to you, this flux was happening much before that.
Much before. It's part of history, Malad. And actually what happened in 1971 was the second partition of India, in the sense that Pakistan, was East Pakistan was obliterated from the back. Bangladesh was created, and those people, those Hindus, and
that's not a second partition.
Second partition of Pakistan. So therefore, because of that, these people came across. It's that second partition of Pakistan that resulted in part of this influx. And Parliament debated it, and I don't want to trouble your lordships. When Parliament debated it, Parliament said, we don't want to. And this literature we've put in the compilation, in our compilation. I'll not trouble your lordships with it. The point I'm making is this second partition of Pakistan resulted partly in this influx. But the influx was happening all along. But in any event, as a matter of constitutional law, they have to show as to what part of their language, what part of their script, what part of their cultural tradition is being impacted. And ultimately, what I heard the other side saying, and that's a political argument, what I heard the other side saying was, they have been even given the right to vote. That's nothing to do with 29. So, what happened? Now, let's come nearer home, Then what happened? In 1978, the Janata Party came to power. And there was a Janata Dal chief minister. And as your lordship knows, that government fell in 1979. Mrs. Gandhi then came to power. Now, what had been happening between 78 and 79, there were huge agitations in Assam by the student community. And if I may, Malaj, invite, just note it, Malaj, there's a book called Modern Assam, which is part of the compilation, Malaj.
Where is that book?
Yes, give the page. Kindly, just at your leisure, read chapter 12 of that book, which is titled Waves of Popular Protest. Waves of Popular Protest. Just give the page, please, the PDF. It will give you the historical context of how this whole protest started. There was price rise, there was unemployment, and then part of it was attributed to the fact that there were people who had settled there since 1951, and there were protests against that. That look, these are outsiders, so these are the others. And the agitation reached such a crescendo that it led to huge violence. I mean, the Delhi massacre in 1983 was as bad as any massacres that have happened since. In fact, the agitationers said, we would rather give our blood, but we will not give our oil. Why? Because production of oil was in Assam. And there was they stopped the production of oil. Production of oil fell. Only 3 places they produced oil: Gujarat, Bombay High, and Assam. Transportation, was stopped. Killings took place. Children were killed. In 1983, Mrs. Gandhi decided to have an election. It was opposed. 2% of the people voted in that election. And a person with 17% won the election. There was again a huge protest. I'm talking about 83. Why this 85 happened? When Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated in October. The demand was that 1951 onwards, everybody who was a non-Assami who had come in should be thrown out. This was not agreed to. Mrs. Gandhi got assassinated in October 1984. Rajiv Gandhi then said, let's try and compromise this issue. In the meantime, Praful Mahanta became the chief minister. And in the 2 years, 83 to 85, they got discredited. The movement, became weak, and the 85 Accord.